and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a pretty exciting gardening day. We have quite a few projects underway. I've moved all my plants from inside out, and we are kind of in the process of building somewhat of a little outdoor greenhouse. Just because I've been wanting to grow more vegetables, and the squirrel situation and raccoons, they're all cute and all, but they've been tormenting my ivies, which you'll see in a sec, the ones that I planted in a recent video. And so I've lost a few. I have one to replace, but I want to just shelter my things a little bit more from the animals. So I'll show you that in a sec, and then I'll show you some progress of some of the plants, and then we'll be planting some kale, spinach, and replanting other herbs and things like that that didn't quite seed properly the first day. I'll show you why, but essentially what happened is I have a grow light inside my house where I was hosting the seedlings, and the grow light was on too long in a sense, and so the stem grew very fast without having the proper root structure. So a lot of them actually kind of toppled over, like they got top heavy and toppled over. So I'll be replanting some of those, kind of the basil and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you what I have outside, and then we'll keep this video going. I have some really great progress from these snake plants that have been propagating for a little while. Two of them actually have started to get some new growth. So there's that one and this one here. The others haven't developed any growth yet, but I am guessing it's just a matter of time. They probably haven't had the root structure strong enough to actually come up with some new plants. So with the two here that I have, I'm actually going to trim and cut. My camera's not really focusing properly. I'm going to have to trim and cut the back plant because the reason for it is basically to get the new plants going. So now that we have the new plants, I'm going to cut this off so that all the energy goes into the new plant. So that's going to be one of the little projects I have. The ivies, which I propagated and planted, are doing really well. So this is one. This is the other. These were the twins that I called. I don't know if I actually added that to the last video, but basically when I was propagating, the root structure actually intertwined on both this one and this one. And so I called them the twins, and one of my cousins actually just delivered twins, so that's my gift to her, so I'm just keeping them until I see her. This I believe was this was the spinach, and so you can see how it kind of toppled over. There are some that are still going strong, and there's some new growth still coming through, so I'm going to probably keep this as is. We'll see, maybe for now. I might grow new stuff. This is really exciting. So in my last video, we actually took a apricot seed and wrapped it in this cloth, and it's actually cracked open, and there's some stems growing. So we're going to be planting that today as well. And then going down, this is some fresh basil, so that's doing really well. They've done well. This didn't take. There's a few things that didn't take, and I've actually transferred the soil elsewhere. My camera's giving me a little bit of a hard time there. And then these are just some of my indoor plants that I'm taking out to give a little bit of sunshine. This ivy's not doing the best. It's very strange. I'm going to have to research how to take better care of it. I think it's not getting enough sun. So that'll be a research project. This is an ivy clipping that hadn't rooted yet, and it's rooted and actually grew a new leaf. So I'm going to be planting this in with the bigger pot there. And then these are a closer look at the ivies. So there were a few extra ivies like here and here. And basically the squirrels came and tore it apart. So I'm going to be planting the other ivy, the larger ivy here probably, or maybe here, like next to it. We'll see. Okay, so I think to begin, I'm going to probably focus on my little ivy here. I'm gonna add this quickly to the longer pot in the back here. Just kind of find a spot for it. Okay, so working on the ground here. I think I'm gonna put a little home here for it. So I'm just going to dig a nice, this one actually rooted quite a lot. There's another ivy that I'm going to put in a different pot as well. I think I have an idea of which one I'm going to use. But look at the, you can probably see a little closer up here. But there's quite a lot of root growth, even up here with the new stem. And so I'm probably going to make this a deep hole. That way I can get all the roots in there. And again, not like making sure that I'm not pushing the roots down. You don't want to create any damage. You just want to make sure that they're nice and covered. And I'm going to position, everything's growing over the edge like this. Let me back up so you can actually see. Okay, so all the plants seem to be growing this way, as I had kind of planned them to. So I'm going to plant this stem facing forward so that they keep growing and inching over the edge. So I'll go like this. And I'm just going to top it up with some soil. I'm not pushing down or anything. That was just a little stick. Okay. Okay, I think that looks good. I have some little crystals in here that I like to do as well. I like to add crystals to my plants. I like to think that it helps them grow. Okay, so that's done. So on to the next thing. I'm gonna go get some scissors and we're going to quickly take care of these two snake plants. Okay, so I have here my two little snake plants. So I'll make the cut close so you can see what I'm doing. But basically I think I'm gonna cut it pretty low. Obviously not trying to damage the other little baby. But I'm just going to cut it. These are some little arts and crafts scissors that I have. And there we go. Now hopefully this guy shoots up. So all the energy from this guy is now going to go into that. Maybe for an experiment I might toss this back into water and see if it grows more roots. And see if I can keep the process going a little bit longer. So we're going to test that out. The same thing with this guy. This was actually the first one to pop out, and let me tell you, it's a pretty exciting thing to see and to witness when it does happen, because it takes quite a long time for these guys to shoot up. And so this one I'm going to kind of hit it on an angle, first on this side, going up, because it's getting pretty close to the plant, so I don't want to damage it. I'm just going to move it away. Voila. All done. And it's so pretty. It's so beautiful. It's actually got another little baby coming out here, if you can see. Magical. The next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to plant this ivy probably in this smaller little container, plastic container. I'm actually going to find a different one that has holes. Ivies like to be like drainable and have some circulation, airflow going. So I'm gonna use this little pot instead. Okay, and so I'm gonna reuse the soil of the seedling that never took. Put that aside, and I'm gonna use some of this compost soil here to my left hand side. I'm gonna do the same thing with the pot that's going to have the ivy. Okay, I'm going to put it on the bottom. That way when the roots come, they'll have a little bit of compost and nourishment when they ground down, right? Might as well, no, this is compost. I'm going to use this soil here. I'm going to open a new one. So I'm just going to fill my pots up. Good for this one. breaking apart the soil. Okay, with my mic. Hopefully you can hear me. Okie dokies. So the ivy's gonna go in this little pot here. So I'm just going to gauge how long the root is. So it's quite long. So I'm gonna make a pretty deep hole inside my pot here. So nice, there's a butterfly. I don't know if you saw that. They've been visiting, a lot of little white butterflies. Okay, so you've got my rooting here. They're very thin, delicate roots. Let's see. So I'm just gonna plop it down like that. I'm gonna cover it. Add a bit more soil. And then I'm going to be watering all the plants at the very end. And just do like an overall big swoop around. It's been really hot here, like in the, I think it's 35 degrees with the humidity today, which is probably the late 90s, high 90s I should say, for Fahrenheit degrees, if you're in the US. I'm going to put that plant there. Okay, so I'm really excited about this, what was the fruit here? This is an apricot. Okay, so it's really cool. It actually just like popped out of its shell. So I'm gonna remove the shelling. And I am assuming, ooh, which one goes up and down? I think this is the root. So my guess is that this is the root. So I'm probably gonna plant it this way. I hope I'm not making a mistake and planting the stem in the ground. Okay, so just to give you perspective, I'm gonna go about an inch deep with this. I'm gonna put it right in the center with the stem facing down. I'm just going to lightly cover it. Maybe even keep it not fully covered for a little while until it starts growing. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do with this. Let's see what happens. Okay, so the variety of seeds that we're going to be gardening with today is called West Coast seeds. These are all organic, non-GMO, and so there's going to be a variety of spinach. So this is the seaside spinach. We're going to do Kale Storm. Darky Boar, I believe, is the enunciation for this type of kale. Arugula. And then we're going to do a red Russian kale. This is really pretty. It's got a red stem on it, if you can see that. And then I've always wanted to grow Echinacea and do some herbal teas and things like that with this. It just helps whenever you have a flu or a cold or things like that. And so I've always wanted to learn how to utilize the fresh plant. And I believe it has a lot of nutrients, mainly in the roots and in the petals itself. So I'll be learning and dabbling a little bit in that. And then this final kale is called Lacinato, I believe. Lacinato? We'll see. These are what we are going to be planting in majority of the buckets. I may take out some peppers from another stash of seeds that I recently purchased. Sorry, there's a lot going on in the background with the noise here, city life. But speaking of city life, this is basically what I'm trying to kind of bring a little bit more nature into the city and show people that you can get it done. You don't need that much space. In the wintertime, I'm going to be moving a lot of these plants indoors and using grow lights and things like that, and storing a lot of these plants in my bedroom, to be honest, because space is limited. But I think it's really worthwhile to start exploring and experimenting with this, even if you're a new gardening beginner like I am. I'll be sharing what I've been learning along the way, and hopefully trying to encourage you guys to grow your own vegetables and to be a little bit more self-reliant and taking a little bit more initiative and responsibility for your own food throughout the year. And so, yeah, this is what this gardening section is going to be all about. And so I'm just going to briefly touch base on what I've done to the soil thus far in the pots that you'll see as I flip it around. But basically what I've been doing is each time I'll cook dinner or whatever I'm making, if I'm using fresh fruits and vegetables and eggs, I'll keep the shells, and I've been collecting all of these remains and putting them in one of the larger buckets and topping up with soil. And so what I've done over the course of the last few weeks is collected a lot of this kind of organic compost soil that I've split amongst all the pots. Some of these other pots haven't had any of the organic matter transferred into them yet. I don't know if I'm going to get everything done today, but we'll see. And then I also mixed in that soil with other soil that I bought at Canadian Tire. Or Home Depot, I think it was a Home Depot actually. And then I had some leftover soil from previous years that had more of the white pearls that help to aerate and keep the water draining and things like that. And I mixed all of that together to kind of start creating a richer soil for the vegetables to grow in. And so I'm going to be turning the camera around now and kind of showing you the process and more of what the soil looks like as well. Okay, so what I've been doing is using this Bella Terra all-purpose gardening soil. It was on sale at Home Depot. I think it was about $2 a bag, so we got quite a few of these. This is what the soil looks like right now. This one hasn't been mixed with the regular soil yet. This is like the compost soil that I'm talking to you about. So I put a lot of these eggshells. This also has compost soil at the bottom. So there's like an egg. Probably gonna scatter that a little bit more. Like that. Just kind of mixing everything in. So this one needs a little bit more soil inside the pot. So does this. You can see some little egg chunks in here as well. And so I'll be topping all of these with more soil. These ones under the chicken wire. Let me lift this so you can see. So these all need to be a little topped up as well as the pink one at the bottom there is fine. These two here need to be topped up. So I'll be doing that next. Okay, so next up I'm going to use some of this compost soil in this bigger bucket. It's mainly compost and soil. That's the mixture. So I'm going to transfer part of it in each of these 4 pots here. And then I'm going to use the remainder of this regular soil. Or I'm going to start by putting regular soil at the bottom of each and just kind of breaking apart the big chunks. Then I'm going to do a layer of the compost for each, and then I'm going to cover it with more soil. I think that's the best approach just because there's not that much compost soil left, and I want it to be kind of at a good height so when the roots come they don't have to go all the way to the bottom to find that nutrient dense soil, but it's going to be like midway. You know, I'm just learning too, right? So a lot of this, if I'm to use my first spinach batch as an example, it's not always going to turn out right. But we learn in the process. I now know not to use so much of the grow lights all at once and to maybe space it out a little bit more and to kind of pay more attention to the growth speed and make sure that they're not growing too fast. I think that's a really good note. Okay. It's also really fun to kind of, you know, when I'm breaking apart the soil, trying to send some loving energy through the hands. The hands are part of the 10th chakra energy point, the hands and the feet. And I believe you basically pull up energy from the earth, from the feet, and you can transfer energy through the hands. So that's a fun little thing to note as well. Mixing in some spirituality with the gardening. Okay, I think that's good. So they're about a third of the way filled with regular soil. Now I'm going to go in with my compost soil, and I'll just splatter that around evenly. I might add a bit more in this one. That seems good. Okay, so now I'm going to get that other soil. It's just to my right hand side here. I'm going to dust a little bit in each. So you can see it's like pearly white flakes. Maybe a little bit more on that one because it's bigger. Like that. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now I'm going to go in, kind of move everything together and mix it in. Okay, that looks good. Okay, and now I'm going to top up everything else with the soil. Soil and compost. I tried to leave an even amount of compost and the white pearls inside each of the containers. Some have more than others, but hey. Now I have a post-it note, a pen. This it's kind of like in a watercolor crayon, and so I'm going to make little cards as I plant my seeds. First, I kind of want to figure out what I'm going to grow in each. I think that I'm going to try to utilize as many of the kale and spinach seeds as I can in the bigger pots. And I took a look around in my other seeds to try to figure out if I'd want to grow. I pulled out beets, okra, and another vegetable. Let me check. So I pulled out beets, rapini, and okra. So we're going to see if I'm going to go that route once I'm done planting all the spinach and kales first. Okay, you guys, so here is our mustard green seeds. So they're very tiny. I read the instructions. They need to be, I made some rows about 1 centimeter deep. And so now I'm going to take each seed and I'm just going to lightly spread them apart. Trying to get one in at a time. Some of them are falling in twos, but I don't think that's too big of a deal. I might add a few here. It always feels like you're not putting in enough, at least in my experience. At least that's how I feel. So I'm going to throw in a few extras for good luck. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to now just lightly push the soil back onto the seeds. So now our seeds are sowed. Sowing seeds. Okay, I think this is good. Now I'm going to do this process with all the other seeds. baby kales, and it looks so cool. Oh, it's like a ball. Okay, wait a minute. But it's got like yellow and orange. So I feel like it's a bunch of seeds all kind of merged into one big seed. I feel like this is done by humans. I don't think this is how it looks like in nature, but it looks pretty cool. Okay, that's all. Back to time Okay, you guys, so all the seeds are now planted. And so I will keep you up to date on all of the growth of each of the plants, including little baby apricot. I had to use Post-it notes to write down what each plant was, just because I found it really hard to write on here. The pen wasn't really sticking. So eventually I think it'd be a really fun project to kind of make creative, paint maybe some popsicle sticks and create little designs for each plant. And so I will keep you all posted on this. I hope you're enjoying the remainder of your day, and I hope you feel inspired to create your own garden, whether you're in the country or the city. Have a good one, guys. Bye.